Most people think 37-inch tires force upgrades. They don't. They cause awareness. And this is where most people get it wrong. In this video, I'm going to break down 8 different areas where 37-inch tires cost more than the actual tires themselves. And this goes well beyond the obvious negative impact on your fuel economy. But more importantly, I want to teach you what it means to have ownership of your Jeep and why that's really important if you want to make the jump to 37s. Stay tuned, because one of these can be really pricey and you probably haven't even thought about it yet. Hi, my name is Ben and this is Path to Rome. On this channel, I replace guesswork with understanding so that you can make better decisions, save more money over time, and ultimately use your Jeep the way it was meant to be. If you're somebody who has a ton of cash falling out of their ears and you really don't care and you just want to build everything at once, go for it. This video, however, is really focused on the person who doesn't have a massive budget and really wants to figure out what's needed, what's not, and what order you might want to do it in. Before we get into the good stuff, I want to tell you that I have bought, built, and sold like 7 different Jeeps. I know, I got a problem. But one thing that I realize is that 37s are an outstanding tire choice. They're a great balance between 35s and 40s. Now, 35s will get most people where they want to go. However, if you're looking for a little bit more clearance and a little bit more performance, a 37's a better choice. And they look better too. But you don't have to make the massive investment of jumping to a 40 where you might have to upgrade your axles and a whole lot of other things to make them actually fit on your Jeep. And look, I've been down this path. I've spent so much money redoing things, chasing parts, thinking I just needed stuff just because I had bigger tires and not really paying attention to my Jeep. Knowing what can wait, knowing what needs to be addressed is a valuable asset. And even better, knowing what to monitor and how to monitor it, that's what takes you from someone who bought a Jeep to someone who actually owns their Jeep. Before we go any further, I actually run 38s, but the concept of going to 37s is the same. And 37s are much more affordable, and really, you don't gain that much more by jumping to a 38. So let's get started. All right, number 1, wheels. Depending on what tire you buy, you might have to invest in new wheels. Factory Jeep wheels only really allow a certain width of tire. In most cases, you're gonna have a width of 12.5 or maybe even 13.5. So you're probably gonna have to invest in new wheels. And this is something I would consider right from the get-go. A factory wheel is probably gonna be too narrow and it's ultimately gonna make your tire wear funny. So depending on what type of wheel you want, you could be spending a lot of money. If you're really just getting started, you don't need a big fancy beadlock wheel regardless of what anybody tells you. If I were you, I would get out there, drive your Jeep a little bit, see if you actually need to air down as low as you can with beadlocks, or if you can just get away with wheeling with a good regular wheel and always carrying a spare. There's also a good chance that you're going to need a wheel with a different offset or back spacing. This is going to help push the tire out a little bit to clear things like your frame, your control arms, your bumper, whatever it may be. When you're turning your wheel up front, it may rub things depending on how much lift you have. There's a lot of factors that go into it, but if you have some questions, leave me a comment below. Now, for those of you who really want to stick with a factory wheel, whether it's cost or you really don't care, whatever it may be, if you need to get that clearance, you can use a wheel spacer. However, I will caution you, absolutely get a quality brand. This is the thing that holds your tire and your wheel to your axle. When you're going 60 miles an hour down the road and you hit a bump, you don't want that thing to break. Don't invest in a cheap Chinese one, invest in a good quality American-made one, and you know that you're going to be safe. In general, I would qualify wheels as a highly likely needed modification if you want to run 37s. All right, number 2, clearance. You either need to lift it or you need to modify your fenders in order to fit those big fancy tires you just bought. And like I said before, this is like my 7th Jeep, so I knew exactly what I wanted. I have a coilover conversion kit. I cleared out the fenders to maximize my up travel. This is not absolutely necessary by any stretch of the imagination in order for you to run 37s, but it's what I got, and it's all I got to show you. Most Jeep JLs and JTs can handle 37s with a relatively low lift, especially if you're willing to modify your fender. The less lift you have, the less components you need to buy. This can lower costs, and spacer lifts can absolutely do the job. But if you want more performance, you're going to need to invest in springs, shocks, control arms, all the different things. Really, it's just going to depend on how high you want to go and how much performance you want to get out of your lift kit. There are several different ways to achieve this need, but ultimately you need to understand that not all factory components need to be replaced. But they're also not built to be ran like this, so you need to pay attention to them. You need to watch them, monitor them, and understand when things are starting to get worn out. And this all comes down to being able to monitor early stages of wear. To me, this qualifies as a highly needed modification, but there's a lot of different ways to do it, a lot of ways to save money, and a lot of ways to continue to use factory parts. If you're looking for a totally free and clear resource on how to control costs when building your Jeep, I left one in the link in the description below, so go ahead and check that out. All right, number 3, steering components. This is actually one that I see people change without any real reason. They just assume that big tires are going to force them to need new steering. You can see on my Jeep that I've upgraded to a full high steer system with a hydraulic ram. This is absolutely not necessary for someone who's just starting out. Through years and years of driving Jeeps and wheeling them off-road with big tires, stock, didn't really matter. I've ran stock steering longer than you can think of. This Jeep had about 35,000 miles on it when I redid the steering. Starting to get some play in my drag link and tie rod, and I was also having issues with my electronic steering components, so I went ahead and did the full swap. I also got 35,000 miles out of the factory steering on big tires its entire life. Lesson here: don't just jump in, replace your drag link, replace your tie rod, replace all these different things if you don't actually need to. Get out, drive your Jeep, see if there's any weaknesses that you feel, and pay attention to it. See when parts are starting to wear out. Do your maintenance, keep an eye on stuff. And ultimately, your parts are gonna last a lot longer, and you upgrade when you need to, saving yourself a lot of money. For 37s, I do think that steering eventually will be something you need to replace. However, from the get-go, absolutely not. And ultimately, don't be afraid to drive your Jeep with stock parts. This is a watch and monitor, replace down the road as needed modification if you want to run 37s on your Jeep. All right, number 4, ball joints. Now, this one is kind of an interesting topic. I think there's a tremendous amount of companies out there that try to sell you this marketing on HD ball joints, rebuildable ball joints, delete ball joints, all these things that are gonna go wrong in your axle and steering are just gonna explode if you drive with bigger tires. That's crazy. Ball joints are built to last an incredible amount of time. Now, to be fair, I have seen ball joints wear out in 35,000 miles on my own Jeeps after running 37-inch tires and wheeling pretty dang hard. Nothing's ever exploded, nothing's fallen off. And you wanna know why? It's because I take the time to check my ball joints. I do preventative maintenance, and I watch. I sit and wait and see what's gonna happen. If my ball joints start getting loose, they start acting up, start causing some problems, then it's time to replace them. The last thing you need to do is run out right now and buy ball joints. But be aware, those factory ball joints aren't exactly designed to run with a big heavy tire and a big offset wheel. So they will prematurely wear. To be totally honest with you, 2 Jeeps ago, I had bought them because I was expecting them to go out. I put 40,000 miles on that Jeep. My next Jeep, I only put 15,000 on, but then I bought this cool 392, and then now I've put 40,000 miles on this. That's a lot of miles since I bought those ball joints, and they're still sitting on my shelf. I spent like 500 bucks on those things, and guess what? Don't even need them. Now eventually, I probably will, but I put a lot of miles on my Jeeps, hard miles, and still haven't needed them. So again, monitor, learn your systems, pay attention, drive your Jeep, and you're gonna be just fine. You do not need to buy ball joints when you're starting out with 37-inch tires. All right, so number 5, axle shafts. Now, whether you're thinking about rear axles or front axle shafts, you may not need them. Sure, they can give you a little bit of extra confidence depending on how you want to wheel, that you're going to have a little bit of a stronger metal, but ultimately the ones that come on the Jeep JL and JT are pretty good. If you're doing a lot of rock crawling, it might be something to think about. If you're really not, you're just driving the streets, you're doing kind of the overlanding lifestyle, camping, doing all those things, it's probably something you don't need to worry about. So if your Jeep has CV shafts in it, monitor the shaft, make sure there's nothing leaking or looks like they're drying out. If you have U-joints, same kind of idea. Make sure the joints still look good. That's part of the maintenance that goes into it. So ultimately, axle shafts are not a necessary upgrade if you want to run 37s on your Jeep. However, there may be some nuance depending on what kind of trails miles you want to run and how hard you want to run. So if you have any questions about that, leave me a comment below. Let's start a discussion, because I have a feeling that some people might not exactly agree with me. All right, number 6, gears. Let's talk about gears. Seems like a lot of people out there have different opinions on whether you need gears or you don't need gears, as well as what ratio you should run with which tire based on what you want to do. Now, we can have a bigger discussion down in the comments, but for right now, I think the biggest thing that you're going to notice with 37s is you're going to feel your power lag a little bit. It's not going to quite have the pickup that it used to, because now you got to turn these big heavy tires. Replacing your gears to a more appropriate ratio can help bring some of that power back in the sense of how you feel it. This will make your Jeep a little more responsive and kind of feel like it's stock again. Now, with bigger tires, you also increase your risk of damaging your gears, both front and rear, but that risk is relatively low with 37s. The bigger tire you go compared to the size ring gear that you run in your axle, the larger that delta is, the more likely you are to break something. But in my experience, 37s, even factory gears, or even going up to like a 513, really tends to be pretty safe, depending on what you're actually doing off-road. If you do want to recover some of that power, you do want to get a little bit of crawl ratio back, maybe it is a good choice to upgrade your gears. The only thing I'll tell you is it's not cheap. Most shops are going to charge several $1,000s. I've even gotten quotes over $5,000 just to get my gears replaced. Ultimately, it's up to you if you want to make that investment to recover some power and have your Jeep kind of feeling good again and really restore a better crawl ratio if you're going to be crawling in rocks and things like that off-road. By going to a higher gear ratio, you do increase the risk of breakage. And it's sometimes hard to find a good shop that you know you can count on. If you're in the Nevada or California area and you're willing to make a little bit of a drive, check out Disciple Off-Road in Hanford, California. They'll always take good care of you. Jeremy down there does an amazing job with gears and anything else. I'll throw a link down below in case you want to check out their website, but ultimately give him a call if you need to get something done. So for my recommendations, there's a little bit of a balance here. You are going to feel that power loss. It's up to you whether or not you feel that this upgrade is necessary with 37s. And again, go drive your Jeep, decide what you want. Don't just come out of the gate and say, hey, I'm gonna go spend $4,000 to get 513s just because I bought 37-inch tires and you don't even know what it feels like having not changed your gears. Number 7, brakes. This is one that I always find interesting. People automatically think that bigger tires, I need bigger brakes. I need to invest thousands of dollars in a better master cylinder, bigger discs, stronger calipers, all these different things. Sure, if you want to do that, go for it. Not going to stop you. But you might be surprised at how well the Jeep JL and the JT factory brakes actually perform with bigger tires. You will increase your stopping distance due to the heavy weight and the increased rotational mass. And probably the biggest takeaway for your brakes is not that they're going to keep you from being able to stop. It may take a little longer and a little bit of an adjustment, and you'll kind of figure that out as you start driving it. Those brakes weren't meant to stop a tire and a wheel that big and heavy. So they're going to wear out faster. Don't be shocked if you have to change your rotors or your brake pads a little bit sooner than you normally would with this type of vehicle. Now, Jeeps are pretty light to begin with, so brakes tend to last a long time. I would say a lot of cases I've gotten 40, 50, maybe even 60,000 miles out of a set of factory brake pads, even with bigger tires. So again, monitor, pay attention to what's going on. Don't be afraid to take your wheel off from time to time and see how your brake pads are doing. Number 8, the tire carrier, the one you probably didn't consider. Now, a Jeep JL, the factory tire carrier, will not support a 37 safely. And in most cases, you're not even going to be able to clear the factory rear bumper just because of the way everything's designed. Now, Mopar does make a spacer kit to help move the tire around so you can get that bigger tire carrier on here, as well as a reinforcement kit, but that thing costs almost as much as getting an aftermarket heavy-duty spare tire kit with already reinforced hinges. I've seen tire carriers like this range anywhere from $500 to $1,500. It really just depends on what you want. Something like this, probably going to be a necessity if you want to get a spare tire on the back of your Jeep JL. Now, in terms of the JT, spare tire underneath between the frame rails. There's a few 37s that will fit. I once stuffed a 37-inch tire in there, had to air it down. It was a Nitto Ridge Grappler, 37 by 12.5. It did fit, had to air it down a little bit, and that created some other problems. But ultimately, I was able to get it done. Not all tires are gonna fit, and they may also rub your rear track bar, which creates a whole nother issue. Some people move their spare tire into their bed with a Gladiator, but that's a lot of space to take up for such a tiny little bed to begin with. And some people aren't afraid to go with an actual bumper that has a separate tire carrier on it, so you don't have to worry about the body and the hinges, but that's up to you. Some people also don't run a spare tire, and not sure that I would absolutely advise that, but if you do, make sure you bring all the necessary patch kits in air, CO2, whatever it is you choose to run, so that you can get your actual tire back up and going. So if you still want 37s, and you absolutely should, leave me a comment below. I'd love to hear from you and answer any questions you may have. Building with big mods doesn't just require a system, it requires ownership. Or friends that are always going to be there for you, help you out and do things for you. Remember to check out the link in my description if you're looking for a free and clear resource to help you with cost control so that you can own your Jeep and own your adventure. Now I hope this video brought some clarity to you, and I hope it helped you out. So go ahead and check out this video right here, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for stopping by.